Sayyid Nursi, he was a very strongly religious person. And he said, I am a Muslim, I believe in Allah, and this person doesn't believe in Allah. How can I stand up? He's an alim, he was recognized as a scholar, a respected person. And this person, he doesn't even believe in Allah, and if I stand up, isn't that humiliating the religion? You know, he was a very religious man, very deeply religious. So they took him to the court-martial, to the military court, and they said he has to be executed. And the prisoners, they loved him so much. There was Austrian prisoners, because at that time, Turkey and Austria and the Ottoman Empire, there was German prisoners. And they started interceding. And they said, no, don't execute him. Why don't just apologize to the commander? Just apologize, just say you're sorry. He said, I can't do that. SubhanAllah, you could see his strong faith. He's so sincere to Allah. He said, I'll do whatever Allah decrees, but I can't humiliate the religion of Allah. So they took him in front of the army, lifted up their guns, and he said, let me pray 2 rakats, subhanAllah. So he prayed with so much khushu'. 15 minutes he was in his sajda and praying. And then he stood up and he said, take me but don't blindfold me. I want to see Jannah. And the Tsar, the commander-in-chief, he went up to him and he said, you know what, I thought you were trying to humiliate me. Now I realize you're just a religious person. And he let him go, he freed him. Then the Bolshevik Revolution took place in Russia, and there was a lot of fighting and executions, and Sayyid Nursi, he walked from Moscow to Germany, and then from Germany he walked all the way to Istanbul. A journey that normally takes 1 year, he did it in 2 months. And he was not a very strong person physically. When he got to Istanbul, the people welcomed him, they loved him, because his knowledge was already spreading. And even Ataturk, they call him Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal, he was trying to destroy Islam, but he couldn't stop the da'wah of Sayyid Nursi, rahimahullah. And so Sayyid Nursi, he wrote a book called Al-Khutawat al-Sitta, the 6 paths, and he talked about how the British are trying to destroy Islam. The British, they had a whole plan to destroy Islam, and so he was so brilliant, he exposed their plots. So the British became so angry, they had him arrested again. And they wanted to execute him, but the people, they loved him too much. They had to let him go again. And then he had some debates, because the British, when they came into Turkey, Istanbul, they had the Anglican minister came there. And the Anglican minister was very, very arrogant. He used to make fun of, you know, he was trying to mock Islam and mock the Prophet ﷺ. So he wrote to a place called Dar al-Hikmah. Dar al-Hikmah was the union of scholars of the world. And Dar al-Hikmah was based in Istanbul. And he wrote him a series of questions, and he said, you can only answer in 600 words. But he was a very arrogant minister. So they gave it to Sayyid Nursi. Sayyid Nursi said, I'm not going to write 600 words, not 6 words. He only deserves this. He's too arrogant, he's not going to listen. Subhanallah. So Ataturk, he didn't know how to, they call him Ataturk, Mustafa Kemal didn't know what to do. So he said, let me invite him to Ankara and speak to the parliament. I want to give him a prize, I want to give him money. So he went, he didn't want to accept any money. He would never accept. Throughout his life, Sayyid Nursi, they call him Badi al-Zaman, the miracle, the wonder of the age, because of his knowledge. He wouldn't take any money from anybody. Even his students, they knit some socks, and he said, I accept them, but you wear them. He doesn't want to take anything from anybody. So he went to the parliament. His language, he was Kurdish, so his language is not that eloquent. So one of the ministers, he read an article about the importance of salah, namaz, they say in Turkish. He said, you have to pray. At that time, people were westernized, they weren't praying, they were becoming atheists. He said 60 people in the parliament started praying, and they couldn't find room in the musalla when they heard his article. And then Mustafa Kemal, he told Saeed Nursi, look what you're doing. Now we're divided. Some of us pray, some of us don't pray. Those are bad. You're dividing the people. And then Saeed Nursi, he said, Basha, that's the way they address it. He said, Basha, this is the second pillar of Islam. We have to establish this. He spoke to him really strongly. So he stood up to Mustafa Kemal, even though he was trying to, anybody else would be scared. Mustafa Kemal was getting very popular at the time. So Mustafa Kemal, after some time, he had him arrested, and they expelled him to this is the beginning of where they started expelling him, and he had to go all the way to the east in the mountains, and they put him in the mountains, and that's where Saeed Nursi said that was a changing moment in my life. He said, when I went there, and I started saying, I have to spend my life, I have to work on the Quran. Remember the British Parliament, he took the Quran and he said, as long as the Muslims have this, we can never conquer them. And he put it, and it was in the newspapers. He said, as long as Muslims have this